Hello and welcome to SoulWhat, a Soultopia podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Welch.
And I'm your co-host, Roger Welch. So what's up today, Michelle?
Not a lot. What are you up to, Roger?
Working today all day long. Meetings earlier this morning, meetings this afternoon.
So like the rest of the world.
Yeah, it seemed, but the other part of the wasn't the rest of the world.
How so?
Well, our daily routine of staying up super, super late, doing stuff and getting things done, and just our normal, and then popping up out of bed way too early.
Yeah, for you. I mean, we're late night people, kind of not super early morning people. So when you have those meetings, it kills you. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yep, exactly.
But most people are used to pretty long
days and
mornings. But we had a long weekend too with Soultopia Sensation.
Yeah.
And something else, Saturday was pretty full too. I can't even remember.
Saturday you had your class.
Yeah.
Saturday we had class.
I was trying to think about what class. Yeah, we had a birth card class.
Yep, had the birth card class.
It was a good class.
Yeah.
So tonight we decided to talk about what?
We're talking about day in the life of a psychic.
Yeah, a psychic's life.
A psychic's life, yeah.
So first of all, I was thinking, what does psychic mean to you?
I believe it to be really people where you know stuff that you really haven't ever been told. Mm-hmm. Okay, just like messages or just information. I think it's better information comes to you that you just never heard, never seen, never heard, but this information comes to you and it's correct.
Always?
Yeah, most of the time.
So do you have I guess you can't get off your phone, and I forgot to bring mine in here, but a lot of times I'll tell people to look up the definition of psychic and then look up the definition of faith.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of similarities. It's almost like the two could be synonyms because it's psychic gets a kind of a bad rap, bad connotation.
Right.
For a long time. We would say intuitive, maybe you're a prophet or a intuitive, or you're a life coach. Everybody would want to soften. Life coach is something a little different, but I've got my opinions on that too. But I mean, who's to tell somebody they're somebody's life coach? But whatever, just pissed off half the people watching. But
yeah. No, I've said it before too, because you have people that say I'm a life coach, and I hate to say, but sometimes you look at what they're doing is not quite what they're saying to you.
So I think that's a totally different than a psychic. Well, you could do both. You could say you do both, but I'm certainly not a life coach. For me, I'm psychic. I'm just a psychic. It's kind of how I say it. What comes to me, what information comes to me, revealed to me, it really doesn't have to do with, emulate me. I'm just getting information, and I'm just the channel of the information to relay that information to you. Mm-hmm. But it has to, the word psychic kind of has a connotation of things that are unknown and unseen.
Yep.
And when we're talking about the life of the psychic, we thought of that. Well, you thought of that. Why do you think that's an important topic?
I think a lot of times people think, have a different opinion about what psychics do during the day. Kind of how things are in real life for psychics.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe people like it, maybe they don't.
Like what?
Like to know what, how things go for you or for me, or, kind of how we deal with the day in, day out type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Or just a lot of times people probably don't realize the fact of this. Sometimes you just have to turn it off, or it kind of drives you crazy, and how to do that even sometimes. Because I get that asked that a lot, how to make it stop for a little while.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people will overlap, like being an empath with being a psychic. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, they can. I mean, a lot of empaths are psychics, but you don't have to be an empath to be a psychic. You can get information and not feel everything about everyone like an empath does. So,
right.
I don't think you have to, like I said, so I don't think you have to be an empath. And I think those type of psychics are actually luckier. They can turn things off a lot easier if they're not the type of empaths tend to feel into other people. They feel other people's emotions, as if they were their own. And if you're a psychic and you don't do that, you get information, you impart that information, and then you can just walk away. I think that's much easier. If you are the type of psychic, which I am, that's also an empath, I think that comes down to, and this is one of the things that's going to be in my book, it comes down to really learning to be a trained empath and psychic as opposed to, this is sort of a harsh word, but an ill-prepared or maybe immature empath or psychic who you don't know how to turn it off. You don't know when to know what's yours and what somebody else's.
So they just don't understand how it all flows, how it works, what they can and can't do.
Maybe never been taught.
Never been taught.
So maybe
Makes
they've
sense.
had giftings for a long time. Maybe they're just they've shut them off or something, and now they're coming back into their lives. They're opening up to receive information, but they're like, oh, I just took out all the problems of the person that I read for.
Yeah.
And I think that can happen, but it doesn't ever have to happen.
Right.
It's not, you're not training yourself, and you're not doing your client any good, and you're not doing yourself any good. So that would be like in the life of a psychic. I think so. You kind of have to go at how experienced are you, and how long have you done it, and whether or not you take all that home with you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like any job. I mean, like if you're an attorney, let's say when you were a trial attorney, or I was a trial attorney, I could easily take that all home with me every single day, especially when I was doing criminal work. Either side of it, when I was a prosecutor or when I was a defense lawyer, it would be very difficult to leave that at the office. And psychics, I think it's very difficult too, and to say, I'm off the clock. I'm not working on that case right now. I'm not having to feel every single thing that victim went through. It's not mine to take on right at this moment.
But the people do.
But you do. Yeah, it's hard not to. But as far as being a psychic on a daily basis, I think that what you go through daily, it's a lot of things people also don't realize is it can just be hard work too. You have to show up for work. A lot of people want to be, oh, that's a psychic, that's an easy job, it's a spiritual job. You just show up and don't do anything. That's not true at all. It can be an extremely draining job.
It can be, because you're dealing with different people, whether, and for us, we do more than just do the readings. We also do healings or clearings and things like that. And a lot of times people don't realize, the energy drain even that can take, especially if you're trying to, kind of protect yourself, your own energy, and you're trying to help clear their energy, and, can actually kind of drain you pretty fast.
It can. You can also become, I think the healer also is healed, and it's kind of, it goes both ways. When you're healing, you also can be receiving healing. That doesn't mean you're draining the other person. That's just how it works. Especially in Reiki, the healer actually is getting healed as they heal. But I think psychics, just in the typical connotation of the word, of like, let's say fortune teller or somebody who's doing like a card reading, to me that is also a form of a healing if you approach it as such. It's not just, yes, this is the way it's going to look for you. This is the future. It's also imparting information that comes to you regarding their free will and their courses of action, and how they can correct certain courses of action in their life. And so the gist of it is, being a psychic and going to work, and the day in the life of a psychic is really like that of everyone else. I think everybody should prepare themselves for the energies that come their way throughout the day.
Makes sense. Yeah, because especially if you think about it, I know you were here earlier today, when, and came back. Any other stops during that? Go anywhere else?
Yeah, just normal day.
Yeah.
Today, not so much, but typically, yeah, you're going to run your errands, you're going to do your things. So sometimes you have to turn it on and turn it off. And it was interesting what you said earlier, can you turn it off? So a lot of people probably wonder, are you just constantly getting messages coming to you? Like if you're standing in the grocery, or if you walk in, you can actually, it can be constant. Like right now, I said my ears ringing. For me, that's a tell of something about a suicide, and somebody probably in this room that has something going on, either a friend or somebody they're thinking about that they've lost to suicide. I mean, I felt it the minute I came in here, and I knew it was one of us.
Yeah.
Don't think it's me. So it doesn't mean y'all even realize exactly what's going on right now, but I feel like there's something going on with somebody in somebody's life. So I know that tell, and I have to really acknowledge it before it'll just stop. If I'm in the grocery store line, I don't try to get up in people's business and try to say, oh, let me read for you in the grocery store line. That's like, I always equate it to being a baby lawyer just because I was. When you got out of law school, everything was a lawsuit. Like you walked in the grocery store and you're like, oh, there's a grape on the floor. Oh, slip and fall case. Somebody's going to sue somebody because they slipped on the grape. And back when I became a lawyer, that was a very big reality because that was before tort reform. So that would be the best way to make your first million would be just slip on a grape. But since tort reform, that's not so much.
Yeah.
But you were. It was new to you, and that's what you were doing all the time. It felt very fresh, very new.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could equate it to window sales. If you're brand new to it and you just went through training for window sales, you probably notice everywhere you go, oh, they need a new window. That's not a very good window, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the same
Yeah.
with being what we do for a living. Eventually, it becomes we're doing it every day, right?
Yeah.
So it's not boring, but it just becomes where, you turn it off just like you turn off other stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes stuff just comes through. Like it's just
It's
loud
hard,
as anything.
you just can't stop it.
You can't.
Yeah.
Well, you can,
To a degree.
but at some point you just acknowledge it and go, okay, that's there. Like that ringing in my ear settling down a little bit now, but it doesn't totally. So I'm assuming people would want to know, is it just always flooding your mind? Just especially mediumship, which I don't differentiate between, people in this 3D form or another form. To me, it's all energy. So is it just always coming through? It could be constantly coming through if you wanted to let that flow open, that channel of information open all the time.
Yeah.
It could be, but that's exhausting. Who wants to do that?
Oh, you couldn't function the rest of the time, though.
Which is true think about it. That's true for a lot of people. I'm not saying that everybody who has a mental illness per se, I'm not saying that, has that channel totally open and hasn't been taught how to close it. But I do think some people are misdiagnosed. I think some people are having a channel totally come through them constantly, and they haven't been taught how to, and so they may be hearing things. That doesn't mean everybody, but some. Still go to your
So
doctor.
they actually really had information. They have information coming through, but it's so much information coming through and so strong coming through, it really just kind of drives them
batty. Yep.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah. Actually, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense.
I don't believe every single person that is, I think doctors, people want to put labels on things they don't understand. And sometimes there's probably people who have a lot of information that they've had channeled to them and they don't know how to turn it off. And so it's just always coming out of their mouth, and they have a lot of wisdom, but they get to where they don't ever listen to them and they think they're crazy.
And exactly. If you think about it, let's say that type of person where they're getting this information and they've tried to explain it in their best way to a doctor or whoever, and they're like, let's be honest, they're told, you're crazy. That doesn't exist. You need to stop. Here, take these meds.
Or drink orange juice.
Yeah. Or something like that.
Which is what I was told.
There was nobody there to help support those people and help understand it. Right. So it's really just it snowballs on them because your mind can only take so much information like that.
I mean, if you really think about it, some of the most probably brilliant minds had a little bit of what we might think of crazy genius. And probably a lot of those brilliant ideas were channeled to some of those people. That was information given to them from a different source. Yeah, they're brilliant, but they were channeling information. People thought they were crazy, and then they'd follow through with stuff. And yeah. Well, artists, inventors,
Leonardo, any of those people where they've created. They had drawings. He created a submarine. I forget all the details about it, but he had an actual working submarine.
Yeah.
hundreds of years before they actually figured out they really could make a submarine and go underwater.
Yeah. So
You know,
you think, and so are they
helicopters.
genius or are they channeling that information? I think a little bit of both, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest with you. Are there psychics who are not what we would label geniuses? Of course. I mean, there could be somebody who the only thing they could do is come up with information and relay it to someone else. And that's why it's so important to me that you distinguish between what is a psychic versus what is somebody who's given advice, or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, versus a doctor versus a life coach. Those are, to me, very, very different things.
Well, and you have people like this country, we never hear people say, oh, that's a prophet.
Yeah, you do hear that.
Well, not a lot. When's the last time you saw that on the news?
Well, you hear it in church.
From here.
Yeah.
From here. This is a
I
prophet.
heard it in church all growing up.
That's in church, yeah. But I'm talking about just in general. Whereas, there's a lady not too long ago, she was actually on the news. Mm-hmm. And she was, I can't remember, some European country. They were praising her as a prophet because, the information she gave, not prophesizing about religion, but just information like this is going to happen.
Yeah.
This plane will crash.
So like a Nostradamus or something.
Like Nostradamus, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of people who can, through astrology or just through their knowledge, their given information. But the biggest one is The Simpsons. Seriously, I've heard that right. Have we talked about that before?
Oh.
The Simpsons are the ones who predict everything. In 1993, they predicted the coronavirus. Did y'all know that? 1993 or 1985? Look it up. They had an episode.
We're going to have to snoop on that
in 1993, Google it. In either 1993 or 1985, they had an episode on the coronavirus.
Was it called coronavirus?
Yes.
Really?
Really.
All right.
Yes, it was.
Hang on a minute.
So whoever's in charge of writing that, they predict everything. They're the best psychics in the whole world. They are the Nostradamus of our time.
Well, I'm going home and watching The Simpsons then tonight.
Right? Look at it, all the stuff they predicted.
Stupid phone's going.
It's like everything.
I'm looking up.
They predicted 9/11.
Predictions, Simpson predictions.
While we're at it, you're looking that up. I read a book. You guys, it's one of the best books. It's not by, what's the guy? Robert Ludlum. Was he the Born Supremacy guy? But it wasn't by him. But there was this book, Night Sky or Night something. And I mean, it was probably 20 years before 9/11. And the whole book is about these two twin towers. And I can't remember if it was in like a different city that he made up, or he's actually talking about the Twin Towers in New York, and the whole book was about that, a plane flying into it. Yeah, it was the whole book.
Well,
and I read it long before that, and I thought, why couldn't that happen? The whole book was about that. Did you find it?
I found it.
It's true, right?
Well, one said yes, one said no.
All right, well.
We'll have to look at it. It's episode...
Snopes it.
All right, episode 22.
Episode 22.
Oh, it's called Apocalypse Meow.
No, there was one, it literally said coronavirus.
Osaka flu.
No, coronavirus.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
Well, we'll have to figure that one out and see. We'll have to go in because I've watched a lot of them. I may have seen it.
I wasn't ever allowed. I haven't watched any.
You ever watched The Simpsons?
Never, and I didn't let my kids. Well, I mean, I was old enough then that I could have, but I mean, I didn't allow my kids to watch it, but they all did. I think they all did.
Let me
they
just inform you, your kids watched The Simpsons.
You know they did, right? Because they've talked to you about it. Yeah, but I didn't allow them. I wasn't even allowed to watch, like, the Fonz growing up.
What? Happy Days? It's
Right.
called Happy Days.
Right. But it was
It's
the
got the word
Fonz because
happy
he was
in it.
a rebel. And then Laverne and Shirley because the song had whatever rules we're going to break them.
What type of bullshit is that?
Rebellious. Well, I watched those shows too, but showing how old I am. But those were good shows.
I watched those shows.
But The Simpsons, nah. Yeah. So anyway.
No.
So
I'm pretty sure you've never seen Family Guy either. What's one of those others? Family Guy.
Oh, it's the one
American
that you
Dad.
watch.
American Dad.
Which the one Trevor watched all the time.
The one that's really bad, Archer. Is that what it is? Archer? It's really bad, isn't it?
I haven't watched any of them.
We're going home and we're going to watch Archer tonight.
Oh, Lord.
He's like James Bond.
We've been watching Succession.
Sort of like James Bond.
I'm a little behind on Succession, but I love it.
It's because you keep falling asleep.
Yeah, well, that's why. Okay, so
It's like 3 a.m.
So
I
what
mean-
is the life like? And so if you were to say a psychic's life, is it boring?
No, I don't think so. No. I mean, you interact a lot. Actually, how do you say this? You interact a lot with people here and there. How about that?
Right.
Different planes. You're on different planes all the time. You're not just always here.
I do think that you have to be careful. You can go crazy. I do believe this, that you can go crazy, like what we think of as crazy, because if you don't ground yourself. I rarely am grounded. Lately, I don't feel grounded at all, and I don't really care.
That's why you wear the jewelry, right? Where's your shungite bracelet?
It's on.
Okay.
But so is like everything else. So it's like I channel better when I'm not grounded, and I basically, when you're not grounded, you kind of want to be outside of your body. Maybe there's other stuff going on and you just are happier. I'm not saying to escape into depression or whatever, but it is sort of that. You can escape and just be, that's probably when I channel the best is I think you should ground yourself and channel, or at least ground yourself after you channel information. But I just would assume not sometimes. Yeah. For me, in fact, I had a healing from Neil the other day, and he was like, you'd just be soon ready to move on, wouldn't you? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, honestly, but for you, my kids, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen what's out on the other side. I mean, why not? You're moving on to something else. Okay, so don't do that, guys. Obviously, I'm responsible, and I'm not going to just move on, but I'm out of body a lot, as this psychic is, and it can make you sick in your body. That you can have a lot of illnesses if you don't ground. So don't do like I do.
Do as you say, not as you do.
Well, I would even say just be careful, because sometimes I would say it might be good to just be ungrounded for a while.
Yeah.
Because the thing is if there's a lot of people who say they're psychic. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I knew all my whole life. Yeah, I never wanted to tell anybody. And so then the minute I told people, they said that made sense to them because of stuff I'd told them or things that had happened. But I don't know why so many people want everyone to think that they are, because it's not always fun.
No, it's not always easy.
It's not fun to tell people, if you're honest, to tell people really what you see. It's kind of sad. It's kind of depressing. Sometimes it's very joyful, but sometimes it's very, especially if you're medical intuitive, which I am, it's not always the most fun gift to have.
Well, you're not telling people, oh, don't worry about next week. You're going to make lots of money.
No, I don't do that.
That doesn't.
Unless they are.
That's a rarity that comes. I mean, it's usually you're telling people stuff that they need to know so they can, your term, course correct to fix what the issues that are coming.
Right. But I think it's the same. Anybody who's a true empath, really they are, and haven't learned how to deal with it. I think if you're a true psychic, there's many days you just should not be one.
Yeah.
So when you ask, can you turn it off? Yeah, but, it was like at the beginning of this year, everybody was going, 2020 is going to be great. I heard all these astrologers, it's the year of hope, it's the year of this, and I'm the one going, I don't even want to have our bracelet party because I don't see that at all.
We actually talked about that because we didn't see it happening.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm always a downer about it, but I'm just realistic about it. I'm just going to be honest. And so there's a lot of...
Well, we're 6 months into the year and it hasn't gotten any better.
We're 6 months into the year.
Feels like it.
I was like, wait, crap, what are we really? I was like, wait, what?
All right,
feels
so
like
we're
it. All right.
Month and a half into the year.
Okay, so what about else would you want to say about somebody being at the day in the life of a psychic? For one thing, it depends on what kind, but you also, you have appointments just like anybody else. Just like a hairdresser.
You had some today, right?
Like Just like if you're a fitness instructor, you have appointments. So that's pretty mundane. I mean, it's a job just like any other job in that regard. Do I think everybody's a little bit psychic? I do. I've come in and I do teach the class for Intuitive Insights Thursday nights. I do think everybody can tap into that, but I also think it's harder for some people than others. Like I always say, if I learn to ride, a lot of people can hop on a skateboard and it's totally natural to them, and other people
Can't
try and, they're busting, ass. That's me. So
Busting your ass.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but intuition, a lot of people, I think you are born with a level of giftings. Can you develop those? Yes. Most people shut them down, but does everybody have them at the same level? Come to my class, you'll see no.
So do you think, because you just said most people shut them down, do you think most people shut them down or most people are shut down? Because if you think about it, what comes out of the mouth of kids is pretty amazing sometimes, with the honesty, the truth, and just things that...
So that's just telling the truth. So I
Well,
think,
no, I'm talking about even the psychic side of things.
so I think most of it's shut down. I think that parents do a lot of that, and society does a lot of that. So I do think as children we have a lot of intuitive insights, intuitive knowing, a lot of giftings that are shut down. And I think that also it's the climate of society, just like anything else. I mean, if somebody's scared to be a certain way, they're not going to be that way.
Yeah.
Right now, it's interesting to me because there's so many people admitting, they're like, it's all over everywhere that they're this type of witch or they're that type of witch. And that's great. That's great. But I really am curious how much they would be saying that if, they were about to be burned at the stake.
Yeah, they wouldn't be.
I don't know. I mean, some might be.
A few.
But, it's just how much do you really believe what you are? And do you have to tell people? And I don't think you have to. I think a lot of times, I don't run around every single place I go. I'm not out everywhere we go, and I'm not telling people, oh, yeah, and I'm psychic. It literally, I
Is
usually
it like going,
tell them I'm an
hi,
attorney.
I'm psychic.
Or, hi, I'm a witch.
Here's
Here's
my broom.
I don't think that it's something that it's everybody's business. I'll say I own a store. I own a couple of crystal stores, typically is what I say.
Yeah.
For one thing, they'll corner you, even if they're totally against it. They'll still want to know. They'll have one question for you and
They're
want
curious.
to know.
We had some in here today. They're like, we're a little scared. We're not sure. And I just talked to them. No big deal. Asked them what they were scared of. And honestly, it was the unknown. They didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
They bought a few things.
Well, and they also think people just assume there's all different kinds of psychics, and you have different ways that you pick up on information. So a lot of people just assume that means you can read their mind and every single thing going on in their mind. And some people can. Maybe they do have that gift. They can read, I know exactly what's going on in your mind. But most of the time when you sit down, that's not the ethics that I have. To me, a lot of it comes to ethics. That my ethics is, first of all, I don't want to know everything going on in people's mind because I have got enough going on in my mind, and that's cluttered enough already. So I could care less to know everything going on in their mind. I want to know, okay, what is it today that they may need to know? What's going to help them grow? What's going to help them if they're feeling discouraged? What is it, and how can we get, if we need to course correct, what is that? And explaining the free will. But I think the reason some people are scared is they just assume that person sitting across from them, that quote unquote psychic, reads their mind every single thing in their life. Now, do I know pretty much when somebody's flat out lying to me that's sitting on the other side? It's interesting because I'm doing an ethics panel in Portland in a couple of weeks, and we're collecting. If you guys have ethics questions you want to submit for me to do on that panel, because I'm going to collect all that too. And there's people that have been in the field, written many books. Rachel Pollack's on it. She's like been around. She's like an expert in the field of tarot and all kinds of different things. And a lot of people on it: Ethany, Pamita, Carrie Paris. And I'll leave somebody out, but it's a loaded panel of experts, and I'm the moderator on it. And I thought about it, and I thought, I think that it's, people have even differing ethics within this body of what we're doing called, maybe psychic or whatever you want to call it, because, and I don't know where I was going with this, but on that panel, I think depending on what you do, whatever your modality is, whether you do cards or whether you're doing spells, whatever you're doing it, there's a lot of differing opinions within that and the way they live their life too. It was interesting because somebody said to me, it was interesting what you said, and it's come up a couple of times. Do you want to read the book of somebody who you don't agree with their lifestyle? Do you want to use cards of somebody you don't agree with their lifestyle? Quite frankly, I don't care. And unless I get to know them and they're total jerks, then I might not want to support them by buying or selling their cards. And that's happened in my store.
That's happened.
That's happened at Soultopia, where I'm like, I don't like that person, so I'm not selling their cards. It's my prerogative. It's my store. But
good thing you like Anthony, because I ordered cards from her.
I like her a lot. Yeah. So, but she's amazing. She's like, she's a rock star. But, and Churros, so many other people. But if there was somebody, I read with a deck of cards. They're not out here. But I don't like what I see about this guy on Facebook at all. What he writes, I don't agree with anything he writes. I don't like him, but that much. But his cards I've used long enough that I really still use the cards. And so I don't think that just because, really, if there's a good psychic and you don't like them, don't you think you'd still go to them? I mean, I'd rather go to somebody who really is correct with their information than is just trying to be nice to me all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I think you can be both. But I want valid information. And I do believe there's a lot of people out there right now jumping on the bandwagon of, and I'm okay with that. I think it's great because I have an intuitive class that trains people to use their intuitive insights. But I think that you should really be honest about what you're capable of doing and what you're not capable of doing.
I agree with that. 100%.
I mean, some people may, really have the gift of picking up on some medical information. Somebody else might not be able to pick up on that at all, or they might not be able to pick up on animals at all, even though it's all energy and they're all energy beings. So I think you could be able to if you work on it, you could pick up on anything because there's not a differentiation. But, just be honest about what you're good at. And I think that the reason some psychics get really bad names and have in the past is because, number one, people just didn't believe in it. That's why that goes back to that faith. And number two, I think you've got a lot of people out there saying that they are and just jumping on the bandwagon and trying to earn a lot of money. Do I think you have to have training to be? No, but I think training's good because it helps with ethics and experience.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, but you just said also that about people thinking psychics were bad, but it's not always been that way. I mean, if you go back, way, way, way back, everybody went to a psychic.
Oracles.
Oracles. Mm-hmm. There were oracles. It's the same thing. It's just a different name. But then when the churches, and I'm not beating up on the church, but when the churches started, realizing they were not coming to church and they were going to the oracles for answers or connection to God, that's when, things changed with that.
Right. Yeah. And connecting to also the mediumship, I think they had a problem with that too. They had a lot of problems with a lot of it, and at different times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But typically, the day in the life of a psychic is really no different than anybody else's, except for, do I think you need to get prepared? That's a good question. Do you have to get in the zone? I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people meditate a lot, and that's how they get in the zone. A lot of people, it's just on, and you just switch it, and it's on. That's me. I don't have to meditate for 30 minutes before you come in. Do I ask for a safe space so that you feel comfortable? Yes. Okay. Do I clear my space? As far as energetically, yes. That's why when it's really messy, it sometimes is right now in here a little bit, my energy's thrown a little bit. So you have to know what's good for you, and you might want to know that. You might want to ask psychics, what's your preparation? Do you have to have a preparation? For me, it's not a big old long prayer and a bunch of ringing of bells and showy stuff. It's just you sit down and you do it, and it just immediately comes on.
That's the way it is for me.
Yeah. I mean, some people have their ritual. You know, they want certain crystals, which on their desk, they want certain incense. They may, drink tea or something beforehand, but all of them are different. One thing I will say is that if you're going to get a phone reading, I would ask on a phone reading, because I've seen 2 people do this that I know, not that work for us, because they never would. One, she did a phone reading and she muted the person while she was doing the phone reading, and she literally was talking to me, and I was like, "You're on a phone reading. You're taking someone's money. That's so unethical."
You're not giving that person your attention.
Right. Another person was
bullshit.
shopping. We were shopping. This was years ago, and she was shopping, and the whole time she was doing a reading, and she was like looking through stuff. When I do a phone reading or a distance healing, I will usually send you pictures of the cards, but I come to my office or I tell you if I'm somewhere else when I'm doing the reading. And you've seen me do that.
I've seen you do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm doing a healing, I will literally say, "This is the time. Sit down. This is so much time." And typically, I will send pictures with the chakra doll. We have this doll that Wes makes. He's amazing. But the dolls look, they've got the chakra points on them. They're about, how long?
About 3 feet.
About 3 feet.
I can post a picture. I should post a picture of Hit and Neil.
And they're great to use for distance healing. And I'll show what crystals I use. And but I'm never going to just say, "Oh, yeah, I did that distance healing for you." And I mean, my point being, ask. If you're going to get a long distance, you're going to get a reading by phone, they totally work just as well, if number one. But number two, make sure you ask that person, "Hey, when you do your phone readings, where are you typically?
What's your process?
What's your
How
process?
do you do this?
Yeah, what is your process?" And just a short little answer.
Yeah.
Will let you know.
Go with your gut. You'll know.
Not always, because these people got plenty. They were getting plenty of reading, and I was appalled that they were walking around shopping. Can you read and shop? Yeah, I'm sure you can, but I don't want you reading for me and shopping. I want you sitting your ass down and giving me a reading.
All right. I agree with that, though.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, because I know who you're talking about, and I saw the same thing.
Yeah, it happened all the time.
Well, it didn't happen just once. It was
2 different people I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it was a norm for both of them.
Yeah. So I'd say in general, just ask, what's your process? And if some of them, I may say, I can do that reading for you. I'm going to be in the car though. And then you also want to know, is somebody going to be in the car with you? Because if I'm using my cards, I'm going to have to put you on speaker if I'm out, and I will always tell you, okay, I have Roger with me. He'll keep it confidential too. And just so you know, just another little tidbit, we keep things confidential, and that's a big thing we teach at SoulWhat.
Yeah, right.
But did you know there is no governing body that makes any reader keep what you tell them confidential.
It falls back to ethics.
It's their own moral compass, and there is no governing body that makes. So when you think and you just assume they're going to keep your information confidential, you want to go somewhere like Soultopia or other places that is what they teach.
So you don't want to go to the one that's gossiping to you about somebody else.
Well, you really need to say, is it going to be kept confidential? Don't just assume that readings are kept confidential because there's somebody out there, because that's what it should be. I remember going and getting readings from people, and I just kind of had that assumption. And then I walked out one time and I heard a reader who was in a certain place telling every single thing out in the middle of the store, not our store, out in the middle of the store, every single thing they heard. And it made me think, well, duh, Michelle, you're a lawyer. You should know better. There's lawyer-client privilege. There's doctor-client privilege. There's clergy-client privilege. There is no, in the law, psychic-client privilege. There's no such thing. Just know that. Yeah, so that's a day in the life of psychic.
Pretty interesting.
But the moral ones, the ethical ones, they want you to come back. So, of course, you're not going to tell their business to everybody. And I think the best ones won't even tell who their clients are. unless they ask permission for that to put on their, if they wanted to put a list of their clients, even their entertainment clients, which we've asked.
Yeah.
They're not going to run around, oh, yeah, I read for that person, or tell other readers, I read for that person. That's not real ethical either.
That's true.
What are we going to do now?
We're going to do readings. We have a
I
few
don't know what
minutes.
time
Let's
it is.
see. We got like 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's do readings.
So, because my laptop died, so I know somebody said something. I think it was Monica and Laurie, Lexi.
Okay.
There's
you
a
wanna
few
do
other
those three?
people. So we can do those. What cards are you reading with today?
Okay, so I'm reading with Barbara Moore's, I'll turn it this way, right? Is that, let's see, I'm reading with Barbara Moore and Heidi, it's Doris Mystic Dreamer Tarot by Llewellyn Worldwide Publishing.
Dang.
I love this
Isn't
deck.
that your publisher?
That is the publisher of my new book, yes, it's Llewellyn.
Nice.
So, but I love Barbara Moore's writing, and this is a beautiful deck. And we've got
You said Barbara. Oh, okay.
yeah, Barbara Moore. So we've got a lot of really pretty new decks in, but man, they go fast in our store, and we're ordering some new books too. So if you guys have anything specific you want, let us know because we're about to order. What are you reading with?
And my phone just died, guys. So those three that I named off, if we get time, that's what we got.
Okay.
Because I couldn't see everything.
So you're reading with?
So I saw this deck. It's called Hush Tarot. It's by Jeremy Hush. And these are by U.S. Games. Is that what I saw? U.S. Games, yeah.
Yay! Love the
So-
people at US Games too. Shout
Yeah.
out to Allison and Lynn. Yeah.
So I saw these on the shelf out there, and I was like, well, those are kind of cool. So I thought I'll check them out. I hadn't actually looked at them yet, so
Okay.
thought I would.
I've used them. They're good.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, that's why I stole them out of your room.
Oh, yeah. All right, so are we just going to do, so the first one we're doing is for Monica.
Sure, Monica's.
Okay, and, okay, so, yeah, Monica, I get that you are ready to just like blow the top off something. You're just ready to just break out of a situation that you're just done. You're over it. You are, and you don't even care if you leave some destruction in your path. It's just time. It's enough already. It's how you feel. I would just be careful with the fact that if you're gonna wreak havoc in the situation, that you be careful and consider the fallout, because it's like it's coming soon. If it's not on you right now, where you're just gonna it's almost like if you had a wand, you would just zap it. So your energy's strong at the situation. You're ready to just to let them have it, but consider the fallout.
Well, I got this. This is the Nine of Swords. Actually, kind of thinking about what you said. I mean, before you were saying that, but it was like you're feeling held back almost. And so the thing though about this card is part of, with that being held back, the parts that are held back are like behind, looks like more, and you're just like starting to kind of move through and release, to release from that.
Yeah, and mine was the Tower card. So I don't know if that's on there or not, but I'm going to practice that holding these cards up, but that's the Tower card. I just saw it.
It was close, right?
Yeah. Sorry. All right, so who's next? We'll do Lexi.
We'll do Lexi? Okay.
Who's the third one?
Laurie.
Laurie. Okay. So we'll go fast. When I try to go fast, that's when you ever try to go faster and that just slows you down more? That's me. The faster I try to do something, the more flustered I get and slower I go. Okay, I feel like it's over here is my card where I didn't fan. So, it feels like it's like right here. And this is Lexi, right?
Lexi, yes.
Okay, you go first.
So Lexi, I got the Devil card for you. And what's really cool about this card, where it's different than others, is two kittens. And one kitten's holding the devil mask, but it's a mask. It's not, you know. So it's actually, to me, is kind of a hiding card. It's things that are hidden that you should be just releasing and pulling away.
It's a beautiful card.
Kind of
The
different,
devil.
kind of different take on the devil, right?
It looks like one of the cats is drowning. Is it?
No, one of the cats is not drowning.
I think it's one cat. Okay, anyway, so, isn't it one cat?
1, 2.
Okay, I have to look at that later. Okay, so 4 of mine.
Guess what cards we'll be studying tonight, guys?
So
Life in a Psychic, studying cards all the time.
that is Life of a Psychic. Reading is, for me anyway. I love to learn. So 4 of Wands is what I get. This is typically a card of celebration, but I don't get that for you. Sorry. Lexi, I get a quarantine. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on around like right now that people aren't feeling well. And the minute Roger said something, I can't remember, like this mask over you.
Hiding.
And hiding. I get that y'all might be having a wave of the crud going through your house. And honestly, it feels like, yeah, that's all I got. I get it feels like quarantine. That you really need to be careful. One person in particular gets more. They may even need to go get like IVs or something. Yeah, that's what I get.
Okay.
Okay. And then Laurie. I'm just going to shuffle like this. All right. So Laurie. Okay, so when you're helping people, Laurie, this is 6 of Pentacles. This is about keeping balance in your life. Right now, it feels like you're definitely giving out more than you are getting in return, and you really need to find a balance. I also get from this card, it's like, remember in Hansel and Gretel, I hope this is right, where they put crumbs so they could find their way back?
That's correct.
Okay. I get something about that. You need to put yourself some touchstones from starting now in your life so you can find your way back to, in about 8 months. I don't know what month that is, but I get 8. 8 months to find your way back to where you were now, so that you remember those touchstones and sort of little memory points of how you got to where you were 8 months from now, and you remember where you were now. So that should make more sense later. But some little touchstones, a little crumbs of bread, so you can find your way back. What do you have?
I've got it's the 7 of Cups. Kind of a crazy looking card, actually. What I see though is it's a girl. She's on a horse, and it's some sort of serpent underneath, but the horse is starting to decay. Kind of different. So if you think about it, like horse being a beast, like you're kind of like powerful beast of your motivation, your things like that. But be careful with that. She's hanging on, but the horse is tied up. So be careful of like over smothering, I guess would be the kind of the best way to put that. Just hanging on too much. Release just a little bit. That horse is a beast. It's made to run. It's made to go. So you want to kind of keep that in control too, and not to let it get dragged back down. And don't let yourself get dragged down with all the things you have going with it.
Both of these decks of cards, you guys, are beautiful. This one, the Mystic Dreamer, that I said by Barbara Moore, and then the Hush Tarot by somebody, was it Jeremy Hush?
Yeah.
Yeah, by Jeremy Hush. They're both absolutely gorgeous
These
cards.
are cool cards.
Those
they really
are really, really nice cards. Yeah, both of them are. And they're They have a lot of images in them. Even if you don't know tarot, they have a lot of images you can see in them to read and get messages. Even if you don't even know, haven't even been taught traditional tarot, you can read them like oracle cards.
I to be honest, when I saw this, I didn't realize it was Hush Tarot because the guy's name's Hush. So I did kind of like pull the card. Well, honestly, I dropped the cards and I had to pick them up. And this card was actually, which has it's a Knight of Wands, and she's on a robin instead of a red bird, instead of a horse. I was like, Hush, are these all bird cards? And no, they're not all bird cards.
No, birds are messengers a lot of times too. So,
So it makes sense.
well, are we doing giveaways anymore? Or are we going to start that back maybe next time?
We need to start that back.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll start that back in actually some segments maybe next time, and we are going to keep having guests. We're going to the Northwest Tarot Symposium in Portland
2 weeks.
in a couple weeks, and then we have a bunch of other stuff coming up, and then we have the Reader Studio in New York. I'm speaking in Portland. Roger's doing something in New York City at the Reader Studio.
Yep.
So, and I will tell you this: our stores have been packed lately.
I know.
We've really been
It's been
like
busy.
fortunate. It's been busy in here. So we've got a lot of good new stuff from.
We don't even have half of. We
Tucson.
don't even have half of the stuff out yet. We still. You talk about day in a life. Yeah, we've been back here working and trying to get inventory out and put it
That's
out.
day in the life of a Soultopian.
Yeah, that's that
it's been busy.
Soultopian life right there.
Yeah, it has been. So anyway, but we'll get back to some of our little segments and things like that.
Yeah.
But we've been a little bit trying to play catch up.
Definitely.
Worn out, right? But I think that's it for this week. You can thank you guys for listening, and you can listen to us on SoulWhat on Spotify, the iHeart Radio app, Google Podcast, iTunes, and of course by watching live on YouTube at Michelle Soultopia, and on both of our Facebook pages at SoulWhat and Soultopia Holistic Boutique. Excuse me.
Boutique.
Thank you for listening to SoulWhat, where we discuss and you decide what's important to your soul. Good night.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.